Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Gabriel Cox and I equip first-time supervisors with necessary leadership tools. Before we get started, I would like to invite you to head on over to my website and subscribe for a free resource. The ultimate guide to identifying what type of leader you are in 5 easy steps. While you are there, you can check out my Goat Locker, which is a place where you can get free tools to help you develop as a supervisor. Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome to episode 6. You're hired. Now, last time we talked a bit about what to do as a manager when you have to terminate an employee. And then we dealt with, how to handle yourself after you've been terminated. This time, I want to get a little more upbeat, a little more excited. And so I decided to do a series on You're Hired. Now, this first one is steps that managers should take when helping new employees with their onboarding process. Now, I understand that your company may have an onboarding process. That's awesome. That's super helpful for you. What I want to speak specifically about today is I want to talk about what you as the manager can do to help this new employee adjust to their new role. And I know that a lot of employees have been hired under certain qualifications or brought in because of whatever reason, and that's great. But everybody gets a little nervous when they're starting a new job. And the managers should have a little bit of, apprehension too, because they want to show the person the ropes and they want to show them how things should be and help them out as they get adjusted. So why is this important? It's important because we want our people to feel welcome. We want them to feel like they have joined a team. I spoke yesterday in a video about how the younger generation they care more about being a part of a team than they do about actually making more money. And so when you welcome these new employees, it really helps them feel like they are part of a team. And of course, first impressions. Everybody gives first impressions. And that goes both ways. You have your first impression of your new hire, and they also have one of you as a supervisor, their coworkers, their peers, maybe they have direct reports, and as a whole, they have a first impression of the company itself. So why am I talking about this today? What's the problem here? Well, nowadays, too many companies are overlooking this very important onboarding or welcome aboard or whatever you want to call it process. They overlook it because life is busy. Things fall off the radar. And they fall by the wayside because honestly, most of the time, new hires are brought in to replace old people that have left, maybe retired, were terminated, whatever, and can come in at a very chaotic time. Maybe the team has been shorthanded for a long time, and they are brought in because they're there to fill a gap. They're there to take over. And so honestly, this onboarding or this hiring process, certainly by the manager, gets overlooked way too often. Additionally, new employees don't know the ropes. Yes, you brought them in under certain qualifications, and they understand that. But they don't know the ropes. They don't know where the break room is. They don't know what time to take breaks. Certain things. Now, that's not what I want you to get lost in this conversation. But just understanding that new employees just don't know the details, the ins and out. And so that's what the problem is. I had a friend who just recently got hired, and the people he was going into work for, they knew he was coming. They knew he was coming for quite some time. And when he showed up, they didn't tell him where HR was. They didn't even have a monitor or a keyboard ready for him, and that was an integral part of his job. And so he was left there for probably 2 weeks waiting for all this stuff, and he essentially could not even do his job. So think about these things as your new people are coming in. So why should you care? As the manager, why should you care? What are you going to do? Understanding, like I mentioned a minute ago, about the fact that maybe your company already has an onboarding process. That's awesome, but this is your chance to showcase your leadership style, who you are, and what you want to be known as. This is your time to shine. Using the tools that your company has given you, like your onboarding process, whatever it is, this is your chance to separate yourself from every other manager and everyone else. So we understand that the person was hired to do a certain job, but maybe they kind of want that person that they look up to or whatever, but they were hired to do a job and you are their direct representative, or you're the person that they're going to go to. It also puts them at ease when they see their manager taking the time to really show them the ropes and to show them that they care. It puts them at ease, and it kind of takes that nerve. We've all had the job. We've all had been new at a place of work. We've all been hired for the first time, maybe many times. And just think about how much easier you felt if somebody took the time to kind of show you around. So at a time when they are most nervous, it's important for the manager to kind of help them out. So what can you do about this problem? I hate saying the word problem, but what can you do about this? Well, there's a few steps I'd like to challenge you to take. And one, this may fit in whatever way it looks like, right? So I can only speak in generalities. I can't speak to your company specifically. But taking these 4 steps are really going to help you kind of understand and integrate them into what you currently have. I understand the first one here, staff introductions. I don't know where you work or what you're doing. Maybe a staff introduction is virtually because you work in a virtual company. I don't know. But certainly take time to introduce the new hire. Instead of leaving it up to the new hire to fend for themselves, take some time and introduce them. Maybe it's you walk around with them and introduce, to whoever their customers or key stakeholders are. Maybe it's a group introduction, at the end of the week or certainly within the first couple days. Taking time to introduce them will really help. You also want to, before you introduce and as you're getting this process going for yourself and how you want to lead them, you want to work with your existing employees to understand the importance of your new or this onboarding process. It's very important that you get buy-in from your current staff to help them understand, just so they're not arbitrarily signing off on something or just shaking your hand because the boss told them to. Get buy-in from your team to help them understand the importance of this staff introduction. The next thing I want to offer you, the next tip I would offer you is to really understand and make your orientation or training that you have for new employees work. Sometimes, we've all sat there and you got put in front of this video about whatever it is, nobody's paying attention, you don't have them bought in, and the employee's just sitting there wasting half their day away watching all this stuff. Now, I understand that there are processes that need to happen with new employees. They got to fill out their tax forms, they got to do a whole bunch of stuff. But as I'm going through this, really think of how you can take this orientation and this training to the next level. What are some ways, new things that you can introduce to help this not seem like watching that video, that you watched about safety or whatever. It's also a good opportunity to kind of take a look at the employee handbook. Most companies have some sort of, indoctrination or employee handbook. Take a look at that. Make sure the information is accurate and relevant to what is happening in the company. A lot of this stuff is outdated. You also want to, maybe the employee handbook is not the way, but perhaps a checklist of important items might be another good thing to keep an eye out for or to create. These are key people, for example, these are key people that you might want to introduce yourself to. This is where, the lunchroom is. This is where your gear is, whatever it is. Maybe creating a checklist that will be a little bit more easier for the person to go down to make sure they haven't missed anything. You also want to make sure that they understand their job and their work area. And while I know, and I keep saying this, somebody might be hired thinking that they were brought in to help out with a certain project. And then they get there and they realize, holy cow, I'm not here for this project. I'm here for something completely different. This happens all the time. But ensure that they understand their job and their work area. Make sure that their work area is the way it should be, set up, ready to go for when they report. And like I said again, try to continue to, this is organic. This is an organic process. So make sure that you're trying to always think of new ways to hold this orientation or this training, because this honestly can be where you lose a lot of people. The next step I want to offer is mentoring. As a manager, you might be too busy to be a mentor, and that's totally understandable. But if you can assign a running mate, a mentor, or someone who is an equal pay grade or an equal peer to this person who has been there for a little while. I mean, I don't know, 6 months to a year longer. Maybe, not too far, not the person who's been there for 15, 20 years, but someone who's been there relatively new, even better if they've been there under your leadership style, that can walk them through and act as a mentor to them. It's very important because it helps them, one, not always come knocking on your door for simple questions, which isn't a big deal, but it can honestly be kind of taxing on you, and you are busy, you're the boss now. And the final step is probably the most important one, and that is to set expectations. Now, what I mean by this is that it's a great time for you to review your company's values, vision, and mission with the new hire, to let them know, hey, this is what we stand for, this is where we are, and this is where we want to go in the future. And then you can also let them know your expectations as a boss and how they can help you meet, how their experience or whatever you hired them for is going to help them meet those expectations, or keep in line with the values, vision, and mission. And then finally, at the end, you want to make sure that they understand what you are saying and give them the freedom to ask questions. This is incredibly important. What questions might you have about everything that I've taken, everything that we have gone over in the past couple days? Now, I don't know how long your onboarding process is. Some people take longer than others. Some companies are bigger than others. Some companies are smaller than others. But I highly encourage you to do this sooner rather than later. Don't let the new hire flounder for a week or two before you have had a chance to go and show them everything. This is incredibly important for all the reasons that I've talked about. So a couple of questions I'd like to ask you, as always. What is your current onboarding process, and when was it last updated? How can you be the difference? How can you be different than all the managers you've seen before you? And what I mean by this is we've all had the manager that just kind of handed us a paper and run away and said, go check yourself in. How can you be different? And finally, how likely is it that you, as a new boss, are willing to make a change in your onboarding process if it is needed? I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I ran a little longer, but this is a big subject. It's something that I get quite a few questions on. And so I wanted to take some time with this. If you have any questions, or you want to know anything about this, or want some more amplifying information, hit me up or send me an email. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for listening. Take care. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you are a supervisor who is currently looking for leadership development, log on to my website and click the Work With Me link and fill out the application to qualify. If you know someone who may benefit from this podcast, please share it with them.